In a series that not many had pegged to go Indiana's way, the Pacers currently have a 2-0 lead against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And both of those wins came on the road, really setting the tone for the series and making it one that Cleveland, they're going to have to dig themselves out of a hole now. But with the expectations that were set for the Cavs, I think a lot of attention is going to go towards Cleveland and what they may have done wrong these first two games. But in my opinion, on Save the Association here, we try to stay positive. I think we need to have more conversations about just what Indiana is doing right and the implications that it has for their future because they are putting up a very impressive series. And last year, they made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. This is a team that for years they have routinely impressed come playoff time. And in the face of teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves or formerly the Miami Heat, these flashy, exciting teams with a very vocal star that is seemingly beloved for their passion for the game, Indiana doesn't often get that same treatment. In fact, quite the opposite. Because a major factor in their success has been Tyrese Haliburton, but consistently he is considered one of the more overrated point guards in the entirety of the NBA. Now, there's a very fine line in determining whether a player is overrated or underrated. That is because ultimately those terms are based upon a wider opinion from a community of fans and viewers. So this player may fit the traits of what one may deem overrated. They might check off the boxes of being inefficient or maybe inconsistent, poor on one end of the ball, whether that's offense or defense. And so then public opinion can deem them overrated. But in doing so, sometimes it gets to a point where they are not appreciated enough. And everything that they do is looked at as wrong when that's really not the case. And then they become underrated. And one player that I think has largely had the perception of being overrated, this was seen in the recent NBA player polls, but I would deem underrated because of that, is Tyrese Haliburton. One player that I would really love to compare Tyrese Haliburton to here is Trae Young. These are both point guards with similar qualities. They are incredible passers, some of, if not the best, in the entirety of the association. And not only are they incredibly gifted in playmaking for others, they are able to use that to their advantage and create scoring opportunities for themselves as well, becoming offensive engines and central hubs for their teams. Routinely, however, I see these players consistently regarded as overrated, in that their production does not necessarily equate to their standing among the best guards in the NBA. And there can absolutely be truth to that. Stats are not everything. Where the value of a player truly comes from, a lot of the time, at least in most NBA circles, is their ability to win at the highest level and a player's broader impact on their team, not just individually. And for Tyrese Haliburton, in my mind, there has been an abundance of that. He puts up good numbers, yes, but he is vital to making this Indiana offense function to the best of their ability. And he is not only an incredible playmaker for both himself and others in a system where that might not be the best fit, he really makes up the system for the Pacers. Haliburton not only excels at playing at a high tempo and playmaking not just for himself but others very quickly and efficiently, which has really set the tone for the entirety of this Indiana offense, routinely at the top of the league in pace, but also how he is very good about controlling that pace and making the right decisions. And often those two things are not necessarily intertwined. Oftentimes, efficiency does not necessarily equate to an extremely high tempo, but for the Pacers, per NBA.com statistics, they are number 3 in the league in pace, number 1 in miles per game, and number 1 in average speed. Notably, though, this is not at the cost of their effectiveness. They have the highest field goal percentage in the entire NBA, and it's the same case for 3-point percentage. They are both efficient and quick and effective, a deadly combination. In the head of all that is Tyrese Haliburton, a player routinely considered overrated, at least from what I'm seeing. But he sets the tone for the Pacers and he does it very well. They do not sacrifice efficiency for tempo. Instead, they are intertwined together. And they combine to make the Pacers have one of the best offenses in the entire NBA. And that all starts at the point guard position. And that is not to compare him to Luka Doncic or Steph Curry, among the best of the best. But I think a deeper reflection is really needed when one looks to consider Haliburton overrated because he really makes this Indiana team. And it hasn't just been good numbers either. They made the Eastern Conference Finals last year, as I said earlier, and they're up 2 on the Cavs now. It's equating to winning as well. Haliburton is a very effective point guard. Now that we've talked about how he sets the tone for this team, and especially the offense, how about the rest of the Pacers? Let's acknowledge their contributions as well. Starting off here with Myles Turner. In his last 4 games, he has scored 20 points in 3 of those. And this is a player who is incredible in concept, but that hasn't always equated to his on the court play. In theory, he's the perfect modern day center. A big who may not necessarily be a great all around defender, but an incredible shot blocker, and a big man who can very well space the floor for his position. And because of this, he's always in trade talks, because it seems like every team could use a Myles Turner. And because the idea of him is so good, sometimes it can be frustrating if he has a bad game. But in this postseason, we have really seen what Myles Turner can do, especially in this Cleveland series. He's a perfect fit for the modern NBA. Beyond what Myles Turner has done on the court for Indiana this postseason, he is also an incredible fit for them outside, beyond the court as well. Because the Pacers are a team that is routinely written off or kind of forgotten about. Over the last couple of years, they've been somewhat of a middling seed, not near the top of the conference, not near the bottom either. Just a playoff team in many people's eyes. But through making the Eastern Conference Finals last year and being up on the Cavs now, they put themselves back into conversations and remind people just how good they are. It's the same kind of thing with Myles Turner. Similar to what Reggie Miller had done when he was in Indiana. Turner isn't going to get all the awards or all the attention. He certainly will not be in MVP conversations. But his impact is profound. And he is a perfect fit for the Pacers and their culture in that regard. Moving on from Myles Turner, we have Pascal Siakam to talk about next. This is a player who was seen as the first true secondary star to Tyrese Haliburton. And this postseason has been a little bit up and down for him. First 4 games of the Bucks series, he was incredible. Last 4 games has been a little bit down for him. But much like Myles Turner, I think Pascal Siakam is an incredible fit for the Pacers, especially in regards to on the court. As one of the best passers in the league, Tyrese Haliburton really makes this transition offense for Indiana very, very effective and dangerous to the opposing team. And for Pascal Siakam, he has been incredible in regards to transitional efficiency. And we really got to see that through his first full year in Indiana. So he is a great fit for the Pacers, especially with a high tempo transitional offense. Another really notable, really prominent player for Indiana this year has been Andrew Nembhard, especially come playoff time. He averaged 10 points a game in the regular season. That's pretty solid. But this postseason, he has had 1 game under double digits. He's averaging 15.9 points a night, and his minutes have gone up from about 28 in the regular season to almost 33 here. Nembhard has been really, really good for the Pacers in this postseason run. And for a team that is very, very predicated, especially on offense, around their number one point guard, Haliburton, it's important to have a little bit of consistency and trust in your backup. And Nembhard has really proven himself to be a player that, especially in the brightest moments of the postseason, you can absolutely trust. Nembhard has been great. Now, the last individual player that I want to highlight here is Aaron Nesmith, someone who I also don't really hear much about. Nesmith has also been incredible for Indiana, especially this postseason. Now, with Nembhard, the biggest issue with really trusting him as a scoring option, even though he's averaging almost 16 this postseason, is that he's not the best from beyond the arc, especially this year. But Aaron Nesmith, he has been lights out. Let me rattle off game by game the 3-point numbers for him. Game 1 against the Bucks, 1 for 3. But then it only gets better. 4 for 5 the next. 4 for 8 after that. Then 2 for 5. Then 3 for 6. Then 4 for 6. And most recently, 5 for 8. He has been knocking just about everything down. And in a league that is so predicated on spacing, that is so, so vital. So now we've talked about the individual players. We've talked about Haliburton, Myles Turner, Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith. For the Pacers as a whole, it's time that this franchise gets a lot more respect for what they have done in recent years and what this team has accomplished. Eastern Conference Finals last year, up on the Cavs this year. A historic Cavaliers team, by the way. And will they win this series? Only time will tell. Cleveland is a very tough out. But for what Indiana has done, it has been incredible. Howie's their franchise cornerstone. He's going to be there. And maybe Siakam, maybe Myles Turner, they don't fit the long term timeline a decade from now. But they're great for the Pacers right now. And I'll tell you what, Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith, they certainly do fit that timeline. Pacers going to be good for years to come. And we've already seen some playoff success for them. I think we're only going to see more in the future. This is a great team. I'm very high on them. And it serves as a reminder of how critical media can be nowadays and how you can push these players, these teams down. Tyrese Haliburton, overrated. Myles Turner, who really wants him? Who really wants to trade for him? What's his future in Indiana? And Nesmith and Nembhard not getting any coverage. But just because they're not always painted with the best, brightest colors, this team still has a glimmer about them. And every time that one tries to forget about them, Indiana comes right back and reminds you how good they can be when they are executing on all fronts. This is a very fun team to watch and one to very much keep in mind for years to come. They do basketball a little bit differently over there in Indiana, and it's been great for them. The way they manage to control that pace and do it so efficiently and effectively, they've just about mastered it. And that's about all for today's episode of State of the Association. Thank you very much for listening. I hope I made some good points here today. If this was your introduction, this is what we try to do around here: bring positive aspects of the game and put them at the forefront. And maybe that doesn't always attract the most attention, but I want to cultivate a community here of people who really love the game of basketball and to be able to discuss both the X's and O's on the court, but also the nuances that create those X's and O's off of it. Really bridge that gap between the casual and the hardcore and create just something really mindful and a positive movement here on basketball media. And time will tell how far it'll go. Probably not too far, really. But I'm very thankful for everyone that has been here along with the ride. And I'm hoping and praying each and every night that we're going to reach out to more people and really change the face of NBA media and make it all the better. Thank you very much for listening. This has been State of the Association. I'm your host, Nash Roberts.